Hello guys, today we are going to talk about the last, character who will join the Straw Hats, completing the crew and going with my top picks from, the series I've been going with. So if you haven't been here for the series, this is the fourth video in the series. I mean, you can go watch the other three where I talk about other characters, kind of like the rules between, how we should be picking who joins the Straw Hats. All about that stuff, 3 previous videos for it. Another video I made last year, initially talking about who I thought would join, given the characters that we had at the time. And today I just want to talk about who I think between Momo and Yamato, as those are the 2 highest possibilities I see in the story right now. Keep in mind that I'm talking about highest possibilities, not the possibilities I like the most. So yeah, without further ado, please, if you haven't already, if you're new here, subscribe. If you've been here and you haven't yet, subscribe, like the video. If you're worried about spoilers, check the description for both chapters and episodes. So, Momonosuke first before Yamato, for whatever reason. Momonosuke has been there in the story. If we're worried about someone who will come in at the last minute, we don't know them well enough, don't have to worry about that with Momo because he's been there. Next is that Momonosuke has been growing and being protected more with the Straw Hats than with, the people in Wano. Thinking about the fact that Momo's been in danger with Kanjuro, in Punk Hazard, and all that was under the watch of the Scabbards, and it's the Straw Hats who actually helped, at least with Punk Hazard. Kanjuro, he did that on his own. But then when you think about it, Shinobu tried and failed, and then Sanji's the one who got him out. So the Straw Hats have protected him more, and Yamato as well, another Straw Hat candidate, more than the actual Scabbards have. And then looking at growing, Momonosuke and Luffy. Luffy has challenged Momo to grow, and Momo has grown more with Luffy than the Scabbards have, even though the Scabbards have spent significantly more time with Momonosuke. So Momo has clearly been protected and grown more with the Straw Hats, and that's what he needs, because we can all agree that he's not ready to become the Shogun. But he will need to be ready, and the Straw Hats provide him with the best opportunity possible. Then we go on to considering the fact that he's an apprentice pirate. Now, if you're one of those people who think, yeah, he could join, but he's weak, he has nothing to the crew, he's really just going to be a kid who they need to babysit. And to that, you're right, but that's not the full story. And the reason why I say that is that while that's true with Momonosuke if he joined the Straw Hats, it's true with every apprentice pirate. It's kind of the job description of an apprentice pirate when they join the crew. Shanks and Buggy, as far as strength, added nothing to Roger. Like, we've seen Roger and Rayleigh and these guys back in their heyday. Shanks and Buggy added nothing. Blackbeard didn't really add much. Marco, same thing. Kaido, the same thing. Right? It's the same thing over and over. They don't add much in terms of strength, and they don't add much as far as helping the crew achieve their goal. But that's not what it's about being an apprentice pirate. It's not about what the apprentice pirate can do for the crew. It's about what the crew can do for the apprentice pirate. Shanks is the prime example of that, right? It's not about what Shanks did for Roger and his crew, because he did nothing. But we see that Shanks is the person he is today because of his experience on the Roger pirate crew, right? It's that experience that shaped the person. So when you think about Prince Pirate on the Straw Hats, think about who would gain the most and become one of the greatest characters in the One Piece story if they joined. Which is also another reason why I think I like Momo over Tama, because Momo seems to have more room for growth, swordsmanship, same different as Kaido, son of Odin, just overall. And then beyond that, we get to the whole idea that Momo said he wouldn't. Momo said needs to become the Shogun of Wano, and I think that Luffy hasn't even asked him yet. And why that's important is that there have been Straw Hats who Luffy asked to join his crew directly who refused him. So if Straw Hats who refused can actually become Straw Hats, then a Straw Hat who hasn't even yet refused, I'm saying Straw Hat already, then a character who hasn't even yet refused still has a chance, right? They still have a chance. I mean, Zoro didn't intend on becoming a pirate. Nami didn't want. Chopper didn't want. Sanji didn't want. And Frankie didn't want. Sanji and Frankie, especially because they thought that, they were too consumed with their duty to the places where they were from, and said that because of that duty they can't, which is what, people use as an argument for Momo. But look at where they are. They're with us now. So Momo still has a possibility. And the possibility of Momo not becoming the Shogun, at least not now and later on in the future, but first joining with the Straw Hats, could be viewed like this. Momo is not needed in Wano. Unlike Frankie, who was actually helping Water 7, by, suppressing the underground influence and, helping them not have to worry about that, Momo's actually not doing anything. Apart from being alive and being the hope as a living Kozuki, Momo's not physically doing anything for Wano. And even if he stayed, he wouldn't be doing anything for Wano. So either way, he's not doing anything for Wano. But the reason why I say this is because what Wano actually needs is the image of the Kozuki and someone to run Wano, right? And that could be Momo in the future, but it's not him right now. But two characters who fit that description the most are Hiyori and Denjiro. If you think about it, it makes sense. Hiyori, she's the image of the Kozuki, right? A lot of people don't even think about her or remember her. It's just been like, oh, remember Momo? Yeah. No one's mentioned Hiyori. But, if Hiyori did show up, also being a female who can just stay there, if thinking about making heirs to the throne, to the family, she's there for that. As far as what the people want. But on the other hand, you have Denjiro, who has been running Wano alongside Orochi for the past 20 years. Thinking that this guy could be the interim shogun to help run Wano, get it back on its feet. He's been handling money, handling security. It makes sense. Denjiro is the perfect guy for it unless he dies in Wano. But if he doesn't die, he's the perfect guy to be the shogun while Momo's away. And he actually would be doing something for Wano and not just a figurehead, So Momo isn't actually needed in Wano. And as long as Momo doesn't die, it's fine, right? The people have had hope. So many people have had hope in Momonosuke, but actually haven't seen him. So they don't actually need to see Momonosuke. If at the very least, if they can at least see Hiyori, who is a Kozuki, who they also know, by the way. They also know her. And I think, the last thing I did want to say is that Momo's been realizing that there's something that he needs to be doing, right? There's something that is greater. In 114, it had been hinted before. In 114, they also made mention of the fact that Momo's like, I can't die here, right? And why is that? We don't know, but it seems to be greater than just becoming the shogun, because we've known that for a while, but Momo never mentioned that I really can't die, right? So it has to be something greater than Wano. And what better way to fulfill a greater mission than Wano than by traveling with the Straw Hats, who we know will literally make history. So yeah, finally he has a relationship with Luffy. I thought this was really important. Oda has shown that he has a relationship, right? Coming back to the Apprentice Pirate thing, he has a relationship with Luffy that kind of like mentor and student, but there's room for it to grow. Yes, it's not the most perfect and clear relationship, but it has room to grow into something more like Roger and Shanks, Buggy and Roger, maybe Kaido and Sebek, Marco and Whitebeard. It has room to grow. So there we go, our reasons for Momonosuke, and say what you will about them, whether you like him or not, they're there. Now we move on to Yamato, and the first thing I want to say is that Yamato not joining the Straw Hats because she says she's joining the Straw Hats. That's not why, right? Of course, we can look to that and be like, yes, maybe, but that's not why. Plain example, Luffy didn't even want the Grand Fleet. Those guys just decided that that's what they'll be. Luffy did not want them. Before it was going on, while it was going on, and after it was going on, he was like, bye. So saying that, Yamato will join because she says she'll join, right? Grand Fleet, yeah, you can join like that because you say, but Straw Hat Crew just because you say so, that's a bit different. So it's going to be Luffy's decision in the end, and so we need to look at stuff that affect Luffy's decision, right? That's a really big part. I talk about this a lot in my first video in this series, so go watch that if you haven't. But why I think Yamato will join is that Yamato has clearly been set up as a very cool, very interesting character, very strong character who, wants to be free of Kaido and wants to explore the world, and so it's a perfect setup to balance the crew and add to their power. It's kind of like, imagine if at the end of Whole Cake Island, Katakuri said, I don't want to be part of the Big Mom Pirates anymore, I'm going out to sea to do my own thing. Lots of people speculate, at that time, lots of people would have speculated Katakuri joining the Straw Hats. Yamato is exactly the same, right? She's exactly in that position, and that's why a lot of people like her, right? But I feel like she's lacking, even though she has had, right? She's had great moments, right? She's a bit more like Jinbei in that sense, right? She's been a shoulder to Luffy, right? Jinbei was a shoulder for Luffy from the time he freed him in Impel Down. Getting out of Impel Down, Jinbei helped a lot at the Marineford War. After Marineford War, when he came back to Fisherman Island, Jinbei helped Luffy so much until he actually joined. And Yamato's been doing good so far, helping protect Momo, helping take care of Kaido, which is a very big thing in fact, right? Helping take care of Kaido would essentially stops Kaido from going to finish off everyone inside the whole Onigashima. So Yamato's been doing good work, but I think Yamato needs a moment in which Luffy clearly recognizes Yamato as someone who is her, his shoulder, her right arm, whatever you want to say, kind of like the way it happened for Jinbei, right? Now, I'm not saying it has to be such a sad moment in which someone dies and Luffy's there broken up and Yamato's like, think about what you have left. I'm not talking about that. But I just think a moment in which, similar, in which Luffy can look back and recognize that, Yamato is actually a super helpful person. And I really like Yamato. I really do, because Luffy really liked Jinbei. But can you say the same thing for Yamato? Luffy doesn't really care. And even if Yamato has a transformation in her character, Luffy doesn't really care. So we need that moment for, not Yamato to just do stuff, but do stuff in relation or with Luffy, right? Interact more, build a relationship in which Luffy can be like, I really like you, join my crew, right? We need something like that. So Yamato, until they give us something like that, they're set up great, but just not yet. But we can see it happening, right? We can see it happening. Now, should Yamato join the Straw Hats? First of all, I think, like I said, the character arc is necessary. And I think that Yamato would become their own person. They'd stop pretending to be Oden, but they'd also, resolve the whole thing with Kaido. And I think resolving the whole thing with Kaido will also resolve the Oden story, because in chapter 115 at the end, Yamato comes to see Kaido and says, I'm coming to break the ties, right? Just because you've broken these chains, you can't leave Onigashima. And then Yamato says, I've come to break those ties. Oh, sorry. Shouldn't you be calling me father? And then I have come to break those ties. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Looking back at the Hour of Legend, which changed Yamato's life, you come to see that, because of how bad the relationship was with Kaido, that's kind of what drove her toward Oden. Had things been great with Kaido, Yamato wouldn't have wanted to become Oden, right? It's kind of like Kaido lacked as a father figure from Yamato, so Yamato found that father figure in Oden. And so now, just like, a child would want to be like their father, Yamato wants to be like Oden and not Kaido. So once that has been resolved and, Yamato's dealt with her relationship with Kaido and just cut the ties, but really had a character moment and dealt with that. And I think at the same time, she'll also deal with, being Oden, and that will end. Because it's kind of like her relationship with Kaido is what made her want to be Oden. So without that, once you resolve that, not just from bye, I'm leaving Onigashima, a real character development moment, you also kind of erase that. It's kind of like Yamato, Kaido, Yamato wanting to be Oden. Once you cut this here, all that goes away. I don't know, maybe I'll animate that. But like I was saying, that once Yamato's had that would be great. And Yamato will be, free to join the Straw Hats. And it seems like Yamato's going to get that moment soon because of her fight with Kaido. But as far as Yamato joining the crew and a role on the crew, a lot of people say that she'd be the log keeper. And I think that is crazy. I think that is absolutely crazy. Oda, at least right now, Oda could change it and make it make sense. But I think that's crazy. People say that only because she has Oden's logbook. And I think that is really a dumb reason. And the reason why I think that is because Yamato herself does not even keep a log of anything. Oden was keeping a log of his life before he even joined Roger's crew, and he continued to do so after he joined. Yamato does not even keep a log of her own life. She doesn't even log the day she met Ace and how everything was there, so why would she then keep a log later on? right? All the Straw Hats are the same way. All of them had the disposition or were doing the things they were doing before they joined the crew. Zoro was a swordsman before he did. His character already had that disposition of being a captain or a vice captain before he joined. Sanji was a cook before he joined. Chopper was a, doctor before he joined. No one joined the Straw Hats and then started doing their thing. And that's what it would be like if Yamato joined and then became the log keeper. That's just weird. Now, Oda could still build it up, or could just take something new that's with Yamato's character and skills and make a role based on those character and skills. I think that's possible. I don't think that's an issue. It's just something I wanted to bring up, which I think is pretty crazy when people talk about Yamato. Another thing is that as far as character and, what they would be like on the crew, because we know Momo has his gags already. Momo is already set there. But what would Yamato be like? I think Yamato would be the opposite of Sanji, because the experiences have been the opposite. Not the complete opposite of Sanji in his whole life with the Germa, but Sanji and Zeph, Yamato and Kaido, right? Sanji had a father figure in Zeph who believed in him and trained him to be the best person they could be, and wanted him at the end of the arc to go and pursue his own dream and not to stay behind because he owed Zeph or because he had some duty to Zeph, right? Kaido, on the other hand, does not care about Yamato's dreams, has trapped Yamato to, stay there because of his own dream, right? It's the complete opposite. And so I think that Yamato could be like Sanji, but a bit of the opposite of Kaido in that sense, right? Kind of like the Alucard to Kaido's Dracula, if you've watched Castlevania. And yeah, something like that, where Yamato always believes in freedom, and that could come up a lot because of the nature of the One Piece world, kind of like women come up a lot with Sanji. So I see some stuff there. There's potential. And as far as strength, I think right now there is going to be some kind of situation in which it seems that from what we've seen, Zoro, Sanji, and Yamato could be considered on the same level. And then probably in the future, Yamato would drop back to a position where she's kind of in whatever middle group her and Jinbei would be in. And then we'd have the Monster Trio, and then we'd have, the other three in the mid, below that, and then the weekly trio or whatever. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Yamato joining and everything related to that. Now, who do I think will be the final Straw Hat? My conclusion to this is the same as part 3 of this series and even the video I made last year. I think that the apprentice pirate position is kind of a half position, right? It's not really an official position, right? So Yamato could be the official 10th member, but Momo could still join as a cabin boy and not be considered a real pirate, right? He wouldn't be considered a real threat to the world government, apart from his lineage, of course. But that's what I think. So at the end of the day, I think both of them will join, putting my foot down, drawing the line in the sand. That's what I think. We'll see how it goes down. And guys, let me just say this. Do I want Yamato to join? I think as I've been thinking about points for Yamato, I think I like Yamato more and more joining. I already like Yamato as a character, but joining even more now. But I really like Carrot. It's just Carrot has fallen off. So this has not really been me talking about the people I like. If I talked about the people I like from the beginning, I probably would have added Carrot into this. But the reason why I bring this up is for you guys, right? I know a lot of people don't like Momo. Some people may not like Yamato, whatever. But this video has been about recognizing the possibilities and not really about who you like. Because at the end of the day, the last Straw Hat may be someone you don't like. We just have to accept that fact. So guys, if I've helped change your mind about the possibilities, even though you don't like the characters, let me know. Let me know how this video was. All the great things. Like, subscribe, share this video with everyone you know who needs to hear the truth. Unless you like your friends just going off headcanon, which doesn't make sense. And as always guys, it's King KZ, and I'll see you in the next one.